What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I'm going to be breaking down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what happened during the FOMC meeting to cause the entire market to explode, what Jerome Powell said that was very significant, and how this is affecting the markets, and what I think is going to happen to the charts going into Thursday and Friday. But before I break anything down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 6 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks plus 6 months of level 2 data. And putting in $25,000 or more guarantees you 70 free stocks plus 12 months of level 2 data. This offer ends in just 5 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's talk about what's happening with the charts and the market so far. So we saw some explosive price action after the things that Jerome Powell said. Tesla had a falling wedge setup, and we got a very, very nice bullish breakout. As you can see, Tesla hit these resistance levels, and Tesla's looking like it wants to uptrend from here, looking more bullish than bearish after getting a nice break so far. But on top of that, it wasn't just Tesla that broke out. We also saw SPY explode all the way into the 470s. Not to mention the QQQ is approaching the 52-week highs. Not the 52-week highs, but like all-time highs, if anything. And that's once again very, very bullish looking. But the question is, what happened during the meeting? Why is the market pumping like this? And what's going to happen over time? It's very simple, basically. So first and foremost, the Fed announced that the interest rate is going to be the same at 5.5%. That's aligned with the forecast and the consensus, and this is why the market was very excited. On top of that, I just want to mention that the FOMC economic projections, this signaled something big. So the market knew the Fed was going to basically pause/skip during this rate hike. It's basically a pause at this point. And then that didn't really pump the markets as hard, in my opinion. I think the news that pumped the markets, this came out with the decision, was that the Fed has held rates steady, and then they indicated 3 cuts are coming in 2024, and the market went bananas. It went parabolic when this came out. So excuse me, sorry guys, 3 cuts for 2024 is some big news, because this is how the market is seeing it, or this is one interpretation. Jerome Powell and Janet Yellen, especially Janet Yellen, this morning, she was saying that, if you look at the labor markets, there's not much contraction. The soft landing is still in play, and this and that. So the stock market is just pumping because it's anticipating a soft landing. The market thinks that when the rates were high at that 5.5% level, this is leading to some potential pain, but it's not going to be that bad. And then now the market's thinking that when the cuts come, the rates will start coming down, the economy is going to be improving, and there's not a whole ton to be worried about. That's kind of like one of the interpretations of the markets. You could also argue that it's an election year, right? That's coming up. They're trying to pump the markets up, as I've been saying this whole time. And then you also have a lot of shorts. There are a lot of shorts out there. I'll be showing you guys the data in a couple of minutes, who keep on shorting the markets, who keep betting the market's going to crash, and they keep on getting squeezed over and over and over again. It's absolutely insane. So what is the market thinking? Why is the market pumping? Because now the market is starting to price in some rate cuts. So for January 2024, during the FOMC meeting, the market thinks that the Fed is going to keep rates the same, not really do anything. But then for March 2024, there is now a 68% chance the Fed is going to give us a 25 basis point cut. The Fed is going to start cutting, the Fed is going to pivot, and the market is just continuing to celebrate. Now, generally, I want to make this clear, what tends to happen, at least historically, is when the Fed raises rates, there's going to be pain that comes, some kind of like black swan event during a recession. Typically, that's what happens. And when the pain starts, that's when the Fed starts cutting rates to start lessening the pain, to start reducing it, to do things like that. That's what typically happens. Could it be that the Fed is seeing a recession? The Fed is seeing some potential pain, and they're not telling us that, and that's why they're now suddenly saying they need to start cutting rates soon. I don't know, guys. I really don't know. I can't truly say that. I don't know what these Fed officials are truly thinking, because there's so much manipulation, there's so much going on. But the best thing I can do is just look at the current data and just go based off that. So I personally don't think we're going to get a super soft landing. I think that it's going to be kind of rocky. I think that there's a recession coming, and I think that it's very important for us to go over all of that. Now, the market may not believe it, right? And the market could run like crazy, but the stock market is not the same thing as the economy. They're two separate entities. You can never forget that, okay? The stock market could be manipulated because of all this data, but the economy is something that's totally different. What about Jerome Powell? Let me just be very quick with this part before I break down some more data. Powell said that there's more work to do because of the fact that inflation is still elevated. But looking at the data, there's not really a need for them to raise rates as of right now, looking at the current data. He mentioned that them raising rates again is unlikely, but it's always a possibility. He also mentioned that the Fed has to start cutting before inflation reaches 2%. That's very important because they don't want to over tighten. That's the first time that Powell said something like that, and that's what caused the market to go crazy. On top of this, Jerome Powell was talking about the fact that when it comes to inflation, there is progress being made, but the Fed is going to continue to monitor the situation. And he also said, when it comes to the current rates, okay, the current rates at 5.5%, he said that we're likely at the peak, or we're approaching the peak of the rate hike cycle, the conclusion of this long cycle that's been going on for a very long period of time. That's very important news. And with that happening, the market is still very excited about this. So the cuts coming, are we going to get a soft landing and everything's going to just be normal and the cuts come and everything improves? Maybe. Or could there be a recession coming? Likely there's going to be one. It looks like it's going to happen in 2024. And regardless of that, the market is continuing to explode. So we're just going to look at what the market's doing and just focus on that instead. I just want to mention to everyone, guys, that for Friday, December 15th, okay, we have over 4 million, 4.6 plus million, almost 4.7 million puts expiring and just under about 2 million calls expiring. Okay, so we have a ton of puts expiring with the 2.4 puts to call ratio. So many puts are out there. So many people are shorting, betting the market's going to sink. This could be a catalyst to cause another squeeze. Never ever rule that out because the market is very manipulated. Uh, Looking at more indicators, the fear and greed index is still approaching extreme greed. We're not quite there yet, and other indicators are still at these extremes, but there's no sign of them turning just yet. Generally, when we hit these extremes, the market tends to top. But the problem with saying that is the fact that you're assuming the market's done, and there's no sign of the market being done just yet. As far as Tesla goes, there's some good news that came out. Tesla's partnering with Uber to offer $3,000 discounts in its EVs. It says it right over here that the Uber is going to be added as a partner technically, and basically you'll receive $1,000 when you purchase an eligible Tesla vehicle and complete 100 trips in your EV. 2,000 if you do that, and a bunch of other things, and then also $3,000 if you do 100 trips, and then you also have to be you have to have it delivered at a certain time, just meet a couple more criteria. But basically, you could receive up to $3,000 if you were to do this. This is something that Tesla has announced, and that's some big news for them. Could this concern investors? Yeah, this is like there's a lot of negative news coming out about Tesla cutting prices. There's also some news about the autopilot that I was talking about in the morning, the 2 million Tesla car quote unquote recall, which is not truly a recall. It was literally just an over the air software update. So there's lots of manipulation on the news that's trying to trick people. A software update is not the same thing as a typical recall for Tesla. Now, I just want to note that volume was 146 million. The buyers are stepping in again, trying to defend. And on top of all of this, the price price ratio is still flat as Tesla is still performing equally with the markets. And we tend to be green only about 48% of the time on Thursdays, but Fridays tend to be a bit stronger 49% of the time. With that being said, all the data is basically the same as always. December tends to be weaker and November tends to be stronger for Tesla. November was a kind of strong month for Tesla, but I think that December could still be strong, especially if it continues to push. What happened to Tesla? What's going on with the charts? Let's finally start talking about all of this. I know it's been like quite some time. With Jerome Powell, when the guy started saying the things he said, Tesla went parabolic. We saw a very nice push by Tesla, and this was some great news. Tesla got a nice breakout from this falling wedge, and then we're basically in between 238 to 240. If we're bullish, you want to see it hold 240. If that breaks, watch 242, and then we're going to be looking at the mid 240s, 244 to 245. If we break that, we have this resistance up here around this 247 range. If that breaks too, this thing is going to be flying for 250. For support, watch 238. If we lose that, we have 236, then 234, and then 233, then 230 below that. What do I think is happening? Well, honestly, guys, Tesla looks bullish because when Tesla dropped today, Tesla had a big sell off because of all the bad news that was coming out. Lots and lots of bad news. Their analysts saying it's falling to 150 a share, which I think is ridiculous since we're still above 200. So why are we talking about 150? It doesn't make sense. But anyways, it came down. Excuse me. It came down, and what they did is they started to take liquidity here. This was a very, very nice liquidity grab. They brought it down. They wanted you guys to panic. That's when they just pushed it right back up. They started buying down here. It was all just part of their game. And Tesla made a full recovery after Jerome Powell gave a speech. Tesla loves the fact that the Fed has announced that they're going to be cutting rates because these rates, as Elon Musk said, are adding to Tesla's expenditures. High interest rates add to more expenses for Tesla. With rates coming down, it's going to help improve demand in the economy. It's going to help improve Tesla, at least in the eyes of the market. Now, will there be a recession? Most likely, yes. Is it going to affect the economy? Yes. Could it affect Tesla? Sure. But right now, the market doesn't kind of like view it that way. The market's just looking at the news in the moment and still getting more excited. So what do I see for Tesla? Two possibilities, just like for the whole market. We could see some consolidation between 238 and 240 for some time. Then we're going to break out either at the end of Thursday to push to the mid at 240s, or we could break out as soon as Friday. Friday could be the day we break out and get close to the mid to high 240s. I anticipate it's going to try to see some upside. Now, I want to note that, let me just find this real quick. On the daily time frame, we have a nice bullish looking daily candlestick. I could see Tesla starting to push up for 244 or so. I think there's a good chance of a bounce. I think that Tesla's going to start pushing up nicely. So what do I see? Some consolidation first, maybe then we break out towards the mid 240s, or we could just break out from here. If we lose the breakout area at this 237 area, I could turn a bit more bearish. So make sure you watch that 237 area and see if we break below that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're more likely just going to kind of consolidate and break out, or just break out as soon as we open. I see Tesla going to the mid 240s very, very soon. For SPY, this is going to be very important. For SPY, I have the two possibilities drawn out. If we lose 468, I turn bearish. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think it's going to hold up. We either consolidate for a bit, kind of like pull back a tiny bit and consolidate. Then we start breaking out for Friday as we have lots of puts expiring, or we consolidate a bit, then start breaking out as soon as Thursday. Then we see SPY approaching 474. I predict 474 is coming by Friday. That's my prediction. That's where we have this liquidity. And this is where we have a very, very important supply zone. I think 474 is coming possibly by Friday, either Thursday or Friday. I anticipate some more upside on SPY. Part of why I say that is even though we are overbought, which is why I talked about some possible consolidation tomorrow before we break out. I mentioned that because we just got a bullish crossover on the PPO on the daily time frame. When this happens, we tend to see more upside. So there's a very, very good chance this might attempt to go higher. So that being said, SPY looks bullish. You might see more upside. I anticipate 474, and I think there's a very good chance of that happening. On the QQQ, let me look at the chart real quick. I'm bullish on the QQQ, guys. We have a bullish crossover on the PPO. We might consolidate and eventually break out for 408, or we could just shoot straight up to 408 very soon. Just like this, if we lose 402, I could see it retracing a little bit more. We'll have to see how it goes tomorrow. But if anything, guys, ultimately, I see it going for those all-time highs. I see 408 plus coming. There's no sign of this stopping. I have a bullish crossover on the PPO. I think it's going to be pushing up more. So maybe it drops a bit to 402 and then pushes up to 408, or it could just push up from here. We should see 408 by Friday. That's what I think is very probable. For Nvidia, I think the chart's about to get a bullish cross on the daily PPO. The daily is turning a bit more bullish. We have a nice accumulation right here off this 450 support. I think it might try to push up even higher thanks to that, and an inverse head and shoulders like structure. On top of that, when you look at Nvidia, one thing I mentioned about Nvidia is that we're going to be looking for that liquidity at 482, which is where we had the imbalance. We had higher highs and higher lows, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're continuing to break out. Watch for 488. Once again, Nvidia looks bullish to me. It could kind of like consolidate, grab some liquidity around this like 479 area, then break out to 488, or just break out from here. By Friday, I think it could get very close to 490. The chart looks bullish in my opinion. Nice accumulation. You could even draw out more trend lines. I haven't really done that, but it looks good. It looks like it has a bullish setup, and I think that there's upside potential for it. Finally, on Apple stock, looking at the share price of Apple, I just want to be careful at this 197 area and this resistance. we had this like wedge that from have like two resistance lines you could use technically. They basically form a confluence up here at this level, which is where Apple kind of stops today. So if we're bearish on Apple, you want to see it lose 197, come back down to 196. If that fails us, we're going to be sinking for 195.5, then 195. If we're bullish, you want to see it break past 199 and just push for 200. I think there's a good chance of that happening. What do I think is going to happen? Because Apple broke 197, that's a significant break from its weekly resistance. If I pull up Apple's charts, I just go to the weekly time frame, just real quick. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. Looks bullish. We actually broke this resistance right here. I think this is the resistance right here. It's 197 resistance. We're breaking the highs that Apple had previously. This is some big news. And Apple is once again at, looks like it's all-time highs on Apple, which is once again really, really bullish looking. So there's no sign of it stopping. The weekly looks bullish. I think that the daily is showing more potential upside. So I could see some consolidation and then a breakout towards 200, or it could just shoot straight up for 200, just uptrend slowly. I think 200 is coming. I anticipate some upside. We'll be watching this all very, very carefully. On top of all of that, guys, I just want to mention that a lot of these charts look bullish. One thing that adds to my bullish bias would be the fact that on the dollar index, on the daily time frame, we have an inverse cup and handle. Inverse cup and handle. Uh, I think that it's basically approaching 102.5. It looks like we have a bearish engulfing candle on the daily. The daily candle looks really bearish. We're about to get a bearish crossover on the PPO. The dollar looks like it's going to sink more, which is bullish for the market. Now I'm just going to go over a couple of others really, really quick, guys. I want to be kind of quick with this part as usual. So what do I see for the IWM? I see more upside. I'd see this thing approaching 97. Could pull back from 192 and then pushing for 197. I could see that, or it just pushes up to 197. SoFi, we have the weekly 200 EMA, 9.45 coming. Could pull back a bit and push up, but I see it pushing back by next week to 9.45. For Microsoft, looks like it's going to be kind of flat. I was looking for a push for 377, then some consolidation. Not as strong as the markets, guys. Microsoft's looking a little bit weaker, but I could see 377 being tested. For AMD looks bullish overall on the weekly time frame. Look and see if this thing could try to break for 142. If we manage to break that, we could get very close to 150. Watch for 142 though; it's going to be a level worth noting. And 145 looks bullish overall. It could backtest 135 and then start breaking out after that. But I still think there's upside coming by Friday. The VIX looks bearish on the weekly time frame. There's no sign of this thing bouncing yet. Still looks bearish overall. As QQQ looks bearish, it's continuing to break down. No sign of a true bounce. Weekly looks bearish as the market's pushing. As I mentioned, the dollar is looking bearish. We've got a bearish looking weekly candlestick. Also, the daily looks bearish, so that suggests more upside for the markets. Uh, Coinbase of all things looks bullish. I think 168 is coming on the weekly 200 EMA. It could pull back towards 145 and then break out for 168. I see some upside. Alibaba, I was talking about 75 on Alibaba. As long as we hold above 70, as of right now, it's holding. Google is not quite there yet, though. I do see a little bit of a concern for it because we have to try to get above our 50 and 200 EMAs at 134.6 to 134.5. If we break them, watch the 4-hour PPO. If we get a bullish crossover, watch for a nice push up towards this wick at 136. With that being said, we have a potential setup on it. This could even be interpreted as an inverse head and shoulders. So I think we're going to get a balance on Google towards 136. But here's the thing, but we need confirmation. I need to see this thing break above our 50 EMA. If we break 134.6 on Google, it's going to push up for the 136s. We need to see it break first, though. Don't turn too bullish beforehand. You could try it, but you'd want to have a tight stop. And to have more like comfort, you want to see it actually start breaking out first before you really, really see that move. We have a gap to fill up here, so I think it's going to be hitting the 136s soon. I favor the upside on Google, but I need to see it break the EMAs first. For Amazon, we have a potential setup forming. It looks bullish overall, a nice accumulation. Going to be looking for a break of 150. If that breaks, watch for 152. Amazon definitely has potential. I think 152 is going to be a level worth watching. On the 10-year Treasury yield, it is dumping as the market is pumping because of the Fed announcing they're going to cut rates and because of the fact the market is looking at more potential upside. Meta looks bullish. I think 342 is coming soon. Nice little uptrend, nice bullish channel. Could retrace towards 332.5, then bounce and look for 340 to 342 very soon. All right, guys, that's my view of the market. We could see some consolidation tomorrow. Okay, there could be a little consolidation before we try to break out either at the end of Thursday, but by Friday, whether it's Thursday or Friday, I think a lot of these shorts are going to get squeezed on SPY. I think that SPY is going to be pushing up to 474. I think Tesla's going to make its way up to the mid 240s and eventually 250 soon. All right, that's my view, guys. My only concern about Tesla is that there's been so much bad news. So sometimes the bad news could get in the way and kind of slow it down. So just watch for that just to be safe. But if we just kind of ignore that factor, since I can't truly predict that, the technicals are looking bullish. Looks like there's upside that's going to be coming to the markets, and this could help Tesla big time. All right, so that's my view, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day. Remain calm, cool, and collected, and peace out.